What is going on, college football fans? Welcome back to another video. Today we're going to be ranking every single Power 5 team in college football for the 2022 season. And before we get into it, I just want to say subscribe if you guys are new. The numbers show that most of my viewers are not actually subscribed, so make sure you hit that button, help your boy out. Also drop a like if you guys want to see more tier rankings like this one. And yeah guys, let's get right into it. Alright guys, first off, let's go over our tiers. College football playoff contenders, pretty self-explanatory. If I think that you guys have a solid chance to make the college football playoff, you will be a top tier team. Contenders to win your conference, I will have here. And then above average, that will be 8-4 and above. And that, if I think that you're going to go 8-4 or above, but don't have a chance to make your conference, you will go here. And then barely make a bowl game, so that will be your 6-6 or your 7-5 teams. And then no hope or trash. I don't think that these teams will make a bowl game this year. So yeah, guys, you guys know the tier. You guys know the meanings of the tiers now. Let's get into it. First off, I'm just going to go in the order that it gives me. Georgia Tech, right off the bat, we have a trash team. They're not going to make a bowl game this year. The ACC, in my opinion, got stronger from last year, and Georgia Tech last year, they got like 3 wins, and then they lost their best player and star running back in Jahmyr Gibbs to Alabama. So Georgia Tech, they're not going to be good this year. Their coach is probably going to get fired at some point, whether it's during the year or in the offseason after this year. Georgia Tech, they're not going to make a bowl game. Easy pick there. Michigan State, in my opinion, I'm going to have to put them above average. I don't think that they're going to win their conference. I do think they'll go around 8-4 because they play in such a hard division. And I do think Michigan State will be a good team. I think Mel Tucker is an excellent coach. They'll have a good defense. I think Peyton Thorne is going to take a step up this year. But losing Kenneth Walker III, I think Michigan State will maybe take a slight decline. I don't think they're going to be as good as Ohio State and Michigan in their division this year, so I don't think they're going to win their conference. So that's why I have Sparty here at above average. Next up, we have the Clemson Tigers. Now, they are definitely contenders to win the ACC, but do I think they are college football playoff contenders? That is the question. And in my opinion, I think they are. I think Clemson is going to be very good this year, going to have kind of a bounce back year, even though they didn't really have a down year last year. They won 10 games. I think they will be college football playoff contenders, even though DJ isn't a good quarterback by no means. They're going to have maybe the best defense in all of college football next year, and that can go a long ways, especially in the ACC. And I know I just said the ACC is going to be stronger this year. It is, but that might help Clemson's case if they come out with one loss and win the ACC championship game. I could definitely see them making the college football playoff, so I have them as a playoff contender. Next up, we have Ohio State. Very easy one here. College football playoff contenders, 100%. They're going to have the best offense in all of college football, and that three-headed monster that they have is just scary. I don't really need to say much more about Ohio State. We all know they're going to be really, really good next year. Next up, the Kentucky Wildcats. Now, this one is interesting. Do I think that they can win the SEC this year? I mean, it is possible, but I think I'm going to have to put them at above average, and that could mean winning 9 or 10 games still, but I don't think they're going to be able to win their conference because I don't think they're going to be able to beat Georgia or Alabama. So even if they were able to win the SEC East, I don't think that they could beat Bama in the SEC championship game. So I'm going to have to put them at above average. That could still mean a 9 or 10 win season, which is probably where I would have them. But yeah, I'm going to have to put Kentucky here at above average. They just play in the toughest conference. They're still going to be a really good team. I think Mark Stoops is building something really good there. And I think they might be able to win the SEC, at least the SEC East, one year soon, but not this year. So I'm going to have them as above average for now. Next up, the Florida Gators coming out here with a new head coach. Can he get things turned around? I think he might start to get things turned around. I think they'll have a better year than they did last year. I'm going to have them as my first team to barely make a bowl game. I think they'll go about 6-6, maybe 7-5, and make a bowl game. out of a very tough conference. We all know the SEC is the hardest conference, so I'm going to have the Florida Gators here at barely making a bowl game. Next up, we have Pitt. This one might be one of the harder ones because we don't know what's going to happen with the Jordan Addison situation, and that could make a major difference, because if they have Jordan Addison, they might be contenders to win their conference in the ACC. But in my opinion, I think he's probably going to leave for USC, maybe Alabama. I also heard Texas. I don't think he's returning to Pitt. So in this video, I'm going to go off the assumption that Jordan Addison is not returning to Pitt. They also lost Kenny Pickett. They have Keaton Slovis coming in. They still are going to have a pretty good defense. But for now, I'm going to have to put them above average. I don't think they're going to be able to win the ACC back-to-back years without Kenny Pickett and without Jordan Addison. I just don't think it's going to happen. So I'll have them above average. I think they'll have about 8 wins. I don't think they're going to have that great of a year. I could maybe even put them at barely making a bowl game with 7 wins. But I'm going to give them 8 for now and put them at above average. Next up, Purdue. And Purdue is interesting. Aiden O'Connell could be a very good quarterback next year, and Purdue could make some noise. You know, they always have a pretty good defense. I think I might actually put them at above average because they play in the weaker division in the Big Ten, the Big Ten West. I think Purdue could make some noise in the Big Ten West and maybe finish second in the Big Ten West, just behind Wisconsin. I think that they could get to 8 wins. I don't think they'll get more than 8 wins unless Aiden O'Connell really turns it up, which is possible. So I'm going to put Purdue at above average, actually. Next up, we have Oregon. And do I think Oregon are contenders to win their conference? I mean, they have Bo Nix coming in. I know they have Ty Thompson, who Oregon fans are really wanting to start at quarterback. But I think Bo Nix is probably going to start. And I know Oregon fans don't want to hear that, but I think he will. I think he'll do better in the Pac-12. Man, Oregon will have a really good defense, man. They'll have a good defense in the Pac-12. I think I'll put them at contenders to win their conference because I could see a world where they can win the Pac-12. Actually, no, I can't. I don't think Oregon's winning their conference this year. They're going to have to go in above average because I don't think that they can beat Utah or USC. So, and I don't think they can beat either of those teams. So it's similar to Kentucky. Since I didn't put Kentucky in contenders to win their conference, I can't do Oregon because it's kind of a similar situation. So for that reason, I'm going to put Oregon at above average as well. Next up, Auburn. And Auburn, I don't think they're going to be very good next year, man. I know they have Zach Calzada coming in, but is that really that much of an upgrade from Bo Nix? I don't really think so. He's shown that he can beat Alabama. I don't think Auburn will beat Alabama this year. I'll put them at barely making a bowl game, but I think they'll go like 6-6. Like, I could see a world where Auburn might go 5-7 this year because they play in the SEC. They're going to be playing hard competition. In one of their non-con games, they are going to be playing Penn State, but it is at Auburn. So maybe they can pull through and beat Penn State. That would be a big game for them. But I'm going to have them at barely making a bowl game around 6-6 or 7-5. 7-5 may be the best case scenario for Auburn. Next up, we have the Oklahoma Sooners, and I'm going to have them as contenders to winning their conference. I don't think they're going to be college football playoff contenders, but I do think they are going to have a chance to win the Big 12 this year. The Big 12 is pretty wide open. You could see me putting a couple Big 12 teams in this tier because there's a few favorites, and the Big 12 is pretty wide open right now. So Oklahoma could maybe win 9 or 10 games and maybe make the Big 12 championship game, which is crazy to think about. So, yeah, I think Oklahoma are contenders to win their conference for sure. I do think Brent Venables is going to start implying his defensive scheme in there, and it'll take a couple years to get those defensive recruits in for Brent Venables, but eventually that will happen. And on the other side, Dylan Gabriel coming from UCF. I think he's a very good quarterback. He's going to be one of the best quarterbacks in the Big 12. So yeah, Oklahoma contenders to win their conference for sure. Next up, Vandy. We have our second trash team. What is Vandy going to make a bowl game out of the SEC? Realistically, no. Not much more to say there. Virginia Tech. That is interesting because I don't think Virginia Tech is going to be that good this year. Do I think they'll make a bowl game? That's the question. Do I think Virginia Tech will make a bowl game? The ACC is going to be very tough next year. And if I'm looking at the ACC teams, we got Miami, North Carolina, Wake Forest, Syracuse, maybe not. I don't know. I don't think Virginia's, most of these teams are all better than Virginia Tech this year. And I just don't see it happen. So I'm going to put them in no hope. I don't think they're going to be complete trash. But I don't think that they're going to make a bowl game this year. So for me, Virginia Tech, I think they'll go 5-7, miss a bowl game. Oklahoma State, same reasoning as Oklahoma, contenders to win their conference. I think they are, in my opinion, probably the favorites to win the Big 12 this year. I know they lost their defensive coordinator, and he is now the new defensive coordinator of Ohio State. And they lost some secondary pieces there as well, which was a huge strength for them. I could see Spencer Sanders actually taking a big leap at quarterback this year. And I think Oklahoma State's still going to be very good. And like I said, they can win 9 or 10 games and still maybe have a chance to play in the Big 12 championship game. And in my opinion, the Big 12, probably everyone except for Kansas, it's like anyone can beat anyone in my opinion. So if you can make the Big 12 championship game, you can probably win the Big 12 championship. So I'm going to have Oklahoma State here at contenders to win their conference. Next up, we have North Carolina, and I think a lot of people are pretty high on North Carolina this year, but I'm going to have them as barely making a bowl game. I think they'll go about 6-6, maybe 7-5, and make a bowl game. Not too much to say about them after that. Mac Brown, he's doing an excellent job recruiting, but I think that will take a few more years. We'll see who their quarterback is. I haven't done too much research on that since they are losing Sam Howell. But I do think North Carolina is going to have a good enough defense, and they usually have a really good run game. So, yeah, I'm going to have North Carolina as barely making a bowl game. Next up, Miami. And I'm actually going to have Miami as contenders to win their conference. I'm not going to put them as college football playoff contenders right now. I'm going to have to see how they start the season. But TVD, Tyler Van Dyke, he looked really good last year, so we'll see if he can live up to the hype now this next year. And Miami's they're going to have a pretty good defense. Mario Cristobal has come home to Miami. We'll see what he can do. I think in the next few years, Miami might actually win the ACC for the first time ever. Yes, that's right. Miami's never won the ACC, so I think they have a chance this year. I really do. Colorado. They lost a lot of people through the transfer portal this year. They're probably one of the biggest losers to the transfer portal this offseason. But they play in the Pac-12. The Pac-12 is not very good. Do I think they'll be able to make a bowl game, though? I don't. If I put Virginia Tech down here, I'm going to have to put Colorado down here, too. I just don't think that Colorado will make a bowl game. Even in the Pac-12, they lost so many pieces, including Jerry Rice's son, through the transfer portal this offseason. That is just tough. Texas Tech. I'm going to have them at barely making a bowl game. They got a new head coach coming in. I think he'll do some good things. You know how Texas Tech, a lot of Texas teams are like this. They hire coaches that know Texas, and they hired a coach that knows all of Texas. He's won high school championships many, many times in Texas. So he's won the state championships at the highest level in high school. He knows the state. He's going to do a good job recruiting. I think that will take some time. I'm going to have them as barely making a bowl here. LSU. Now this one is interesting. Brian Kelly is coming in. They're going to have a new quarterback. Who is their starting quarterback is it Daniels from Arizona State? I don't know. Maybe he'll get the start. If he does, I think that wouldn't be terrible. I'm going to have them as barely making a bowl game as well this year. I think they'll go about 7-5, maybe 6-6. I do think that they will be better than Auburn, maybe better than Florida. Around there, though. I think that they're going to take, they had a bad year last year, maybe take a step forward this year and creep their way back up. I could see them maybe going 8-4 at best this year. I don't see them having a crazy good year this year, though. Next up, we have the Michigan Wolverines. And I think they are contenders to win their conference, kind of. I mean, I think that Ohio State has that conference on lockdown so much that it's really hard for me to put Michigan up here, but they're coming off of a season where they made the college football playoff, their first time beating Ohio State in so long. I mean, I guess I'll put them as contenders to win their conference because if they can beat Ohio State this year, then they're going to have a chance to win their conference because they are that good. So if they can make it to the Big Ten championship game, I think they will beat Wisconsin or whoever comes out of the Big Ten West. So for that reason, I will put Michigan here as contenders to win their conference. All right, next up we have Washington State. Now this one is a little bit interesting as well. I think Washington State is the sleeper team this year in the Pac-12. They picked up Cameron Ward out of Incarnate Ward, the FCS school. I think that Washington State is going to be pretty good, and I'm almost tempted to put them in above average. I think it's possible that they can win 8 games in such a weak Pac-12 conference. So this is probably one that I'm going a little bit bold on, but I think Washington State might win 8 games this year, so I'm going to put them as above average. That's a little bit of a bold one there, but, I switch things up a little bit. So give me Washington State to go 8-4 above average this year. I really like their new quarterback they got coming in. Utah. This one's interesting. They're definitely contenders to win the Pac-12. I think they are going to be college football playoff contenders. Now, here's the thing. I'm going to have more than 4 teams in my college football playoff contenders because this isn't the college football playoff I'm predicting, but it's teams that I think have a pretty good chance to make it. I think Utah has a pretty good chance to make it. If they can come out of the Pac-12, win the Pac-12 championship, and only have 1 loss on the season, I could see them maybe making the college football playoff this year, especially with how strong of a year they had last year and that Rose Bowl they had last year with Ohio State. I'm very excited to see how Utah does this year. Texas A&M. I am going to have them above average. I mean, until they prove otherwise, I feel like Texas A&M is going to go 8-4 again. Maybe they'll go 9-3 this year. In the SEC, it's a tough conference. They're going to be a good team again. They have Max Johnson coming in, which I think is going to be a very good quarterback for them. I think Max Johnson is going to do good with Texas A&M. They're going to have a great defense. They have the number 1 recruiting class coming in for the season, but that's going to take time to develop because they are just the freshmen coming in. I think Texas A&M, I'm going to have them above average. I don't think they're going to be able to win the SEC this year. So, I could see them going 8-4, 9-3. Wake Forest, contenders to win their conference. Definitely. They made the ACC championship last season, and they're bringing back a lot of that offense. So I'm very excited, including Sam Hartman, which if he can tone down on the interceptions a little bit, he could maybe be a sleeper to win the Heisman. I mean, Sam Hartman is maybe one of the best quarterbacks coming into next season. So they're going to have the offense. They don't have that good of a defense, but their offense is going to carry them a lot this year. So I could see them being able to maybe win the ACC this year. I mean, they're kind of there for me with Miami. Like, I think Clemson is the clear favorite, but Miami, Wake Forest, I could see scenarios where they could possibly win their conference. So give me Wake Forest there. Maryland. Okay, Maryland's interesting. I'm going to have them barely making a bowl game. I think that they'll go 6-6 like they always do because they play in the Big Ten East. And that is like one of the second hardest division in all of college football other than the SEC West. So very, very tough. They're going to have to play, Penn State, Ohio State, Michigan State. Like, that could be 4 L's right there. So it's very tough for them. if they played in a different conference, maybe Maryland could be above average. They got Talia Tagovailoa coming back at QB. I think Maryland's going to be pretty good. I could see them maybe going 7-5, but still barely making a bowl game here for me. South Carolina, tough one to rank. They got Spencer Rattler coming in. They got a very, very good coach who is on the come up. I think they're a little bit overhyped coming into next year. Do I think they can get to 8 wins? That is what's going through my head right now. I think they could get to 8 wins. Yeah, I'll put them at above average. I think they can get 8 wins. Maybe in the SEC East. See, I think they'll beat one team that they're not supposed to. So in the SEC East, Georgia, Kentucky, Tennessee, those 3 teams I think are probably going to be better than South Carolina. I think they'll beat one of those teams this year. Just in an upset. Other than that, yeah, I could see them if they can win one of those games out of those 3 teams. I could see them going 8-4. I think they'll do that. So I'm going to have them above average. Texas. Okay, very interesting. A team that has been very, very overrated. I mean, they are every year, right? Very overhyped coming in next year. Quinn Ewers coming in. The hype is real. If they get Jordan Addison, maybe we'll talk about them being maybe one of the best offenses in all of college football. They'd be up there if they got Jordan Addison. But, Texas is a tough one to rank. They really are. Their running back is so good as well. So I'm going to put them above average. I think they could get to 8 wins this year. Do I think they can win the Big 12? It's possible Texas could win the Big 12 this year, but I don't think I can put them that high right now. So I'm going to have them above average. For now. Alabama. Okay, easy one here. Alabama, definitely college football playoff contenders. There's not too much more to say about it. They have the returning Heisman player. They have maybe the best returning defensive player in Will Anderson as well. So, yeah, Alabama is definitely college football playoff contenders in my eyes. USC. Okay, USC. This one's interesting. I think they can definitely win the Pac-12. They have so many good transfers that came in. They definitely are the best team that as far as like who won the transfer portal. USC won the transfer portal this year. They got so many good players. Travis Dye, Caleb Williams, of course, Mario Williams, who followed him from Oklahoma as well. I think if I put Utah up here, I'm going to have to put USC up here. I think I could see some scenarios where they win the Pac-12 and then they make the college football playoffs. So, yeah, I'm going to put USC as college football playoff contenders as well. Stanford, coming off of a not-so-good year. They got Tanner McGee coming back at quarterback. I think they'll make a bowl game in the Pac-12. Not a very good Pac-12 this year, like most years. So, yeah, I think Stanford can get at least 6 wins. Arizona State, not looking too good for them. Do I think that they can make a bowl game? I don't know. See, they could beat team. Yeah, I think they'll go 6-6. I don't think they'll go 7-5. I think they're pretty bad, honestly. Illinois, okay, another one. Do I think that they can get to 6 wins? They have a good running back. Illinois has a good running back, but I don't think they get to 6 wins. So I'm going to have to put them in no hope to make a bowl game. I don't think they will make a bowl game. There might be a little bit of hope in there, but, I'm being a little bit dramatic with my no hope. So, yeah, Illinois, I don't think they'll make a bowl game, so I'll have to put them in the trash tier. Washington, do I think they'll make a bowl game? New coach coming in. They're going to have the talent to do. I think the talent gets them at least 6-6, right? I think it will. Yeah, I'm going to have to put Washington in barely making a bowl game as well. Dude, I might move Arizona State down at the end. I'm going to go through and review my list, and I might change things around. So, Iowa, are they contenders to win their conference? I mean, maybe. They're going to be good because they play in the weaker division. But I don't think I'm going to put them in above average. Here's the reason. I think they have potential to make the Big Ten championship game out of the Big Ten West, right? Because the Big Ten West isn't that strong other than them, Wisconsin, and Purdue. But because when they make the Big Ten championship, I don't think they beat Ohio State or Michigan. I mean, we saw what happened last year, Iowa versus Michigan in the Big Ten championship game. So, in my opinion, they're not contenders to win their conference because they could make the Big Ten championship game, but they're not going to win it. So, I'm going to have them there, but they are going to win at least 8 games. I could see a scenario where they win 10 games, but I don't think they're going to win the Big Ten. So, they'll go here. They're going to do what they do best. They're going to have an amazing offensive line. They're going to have a good run game. They're going to have Spencer Petras back there doing what he does, which is who knows what. And they're going to have an amazing defense. It's going to cause turnovers. So, yeah, I'm going to have Iowa here winning at least 8 games for sure. Tennessee, very similar to Kentucky for me. Just maybe I'm not as high on Tennessee as Kentucky, but they're pretty close for me. They play in the same division, in the same conference. And for similar reasons, I don't think they'll be able to win the SEC this year, but I think they'll have at least 8 wins. They're going to have a very good year with Hendon Hooker at QB. Hendon Hooker, Will Levis. It's going to be a fun year in the SEC East because Georgia lost a lot of pieces. It might be a closer race than people think. So, yeah, I'm going to have Kentucky and Tennessee here side by side, above average, but they're very close to the brink of maybe being contenders to win their conference this year. Iowa State, I think that they took a big fall from the past few years. I mean, they were so hyped going into next year. They lost Brock Purdy. They lost Breece Hall. I think they'll make a bowl game at least. You know, I could see a scenario where they maybe don't make a bowl game, but I think they have a good enough coach there. He's been doing some good things, rebuilding that program up to where I think they'll go at least 6-6 and make a bowl game. Penn State, Nittany Lions, you know, they might go 7-5. I could see a scenario where they barely make a bowl game at 7-5. I could see them going 8-4. I don't think this is their year to win the Big Ten East. I'll put them at above average for now because I think that they will probably win at least 8 games there. So, yeah, I'll have Penn State as above average. Nebraska. Here's a fun one. I'm going to have them as making a bowl game this year. You know, they were the best 3-7, or what, not 3-7, 3-8 team of all time last year. Or 3-9. They were the best. I can't do it in my head right now. They were the best 3-9 team of all time last year. Maybe this year they'll be the best 4-8 team of all time. But no, I think Nebraska will win at least 6 games this year and make a bowl game. They got Casey Thompson, the transfer quarterback from Texas, coming in there. You know, I think Scott Frost, this is the year. He has to make a bowl game this year, and I think he will. I think Nebraska is going to be good enough to make a bowl game. Oregon State, you know, there was a time last year where I thought Oregon State maybe could make the top 25. I mean, they were a pretty decent team. They were in the running to get JT Daniels this year. That would have been a huge pickup. I'm going to put them as barely making a bowl, probably 6-6 if they do make one. Syracuse is a little bit interesting as well. They have one of the best running backs in college football, in my opinion. I mean, I'm not even exaggerating. The dude is a beast. He put up monstrous numbers as a freshman last season. Do I think Syracuse will make a bowl at 6-6? I think they will. Yeah, I'll have Syracuse making a bowl, squeaking one out. But this is a very tough, like, these ACC teams, you know, they're going to be beating each other. Like, in my opinion, Virginia, Syracuse, North Carolina, I mean, Boston College, all these teams, man, they're just going to be beating up on each other. Even Virginia Tech, I think they're going to get the worst of it all when it comes to the beatings. So that's why I had them falling out, and maybe Syracuse might as well. But yeah, I'm going to have Syracuse here barely making a bowl game as well. Indiana. No, I don't think they're making a bowl game this year. They fell off really bad. They had that really good year in the COVID year with Michael Penix Jr. Michael Penix Jr. actually with Washington now, so we'll see how he does. But yeah, Indiana, I don't see them making a bowl game this year. It's not looking good for them. Virginia, okay. They have Brennan Armstrong returning. Do I think they're going to get 7-5 or 8-4? I think probably 7-5, and for the reasons that I said earlier with the ACC, I think the ACC is going to kind of eat each other there. Except for these higher tier teams like Miami, Wake Forest, and Clemson, and maybe to a lesser degree Pitt, depending on what happens with Jordan Addison. But yeah, I think they're going to be eating each other. I think Virginia, maybe they can escape it going 7-5, but maybe they'll go 8-4. I could see situations where Virginia goes 8-4. Brennan Armstrong, the Red Rocket, we'll see what he can do. Mississippi State. I really like Will Rogers at quarterback, guys. Do I think that they can go 8-4 in the SEC East though? That's a tough thing because it's the hardest division in all of college football. So do I think that they can get to 8 wins? Another bold prediction. It's kind of similar to my Washington State take. I think Mississippi State wins 8 games on the dot this year, so I'm going to have them above average. Ole Miss. In Ole Miss, I might get a lot of hate for this one. I was talking about it on my stream last week. Ole Miss to me is very, very, very overhyped coming into this year. They're going to take a drop. They lost Matt Corral, and Jackson Dart is not Matt Corral. I mean, I see potential in him. I mean, he's going to be good, but he's not going to be that good this year. We saw even in the 2020 season, Matt Corral was throwing a lot of interceptions because it takes development. And just because he's with Lane Kiffin now doesn't mean he's automatically going to be amazing. He was like average in the Pac-12, and he's going from the Pac-12 to the SEC, where he's going to be playing much harder defenses to go against. And I just don't see it happening. Like, I'm going to have Ole Miss as barely making a bowl game this year. I think they'll go 7-5. Like, maybe even 6-6. Like, I think Ole Miss is pretty overhyped. And listen, if I am wrong, I will own this. I will say Ole Miss, I thought that they weren't going to be that good this year. But in my opinion, I don't think they're going to be that good this year. I think they'll go 6-6, maybe 7-5. Louisville. Another one of those ACC teams where I think they're just going to be fighting and eating each other. These ACC games are going to be so entertaining to watch this year. Between Louisville, Virginia, North Carolina, even Syracuse, Pitt, Wake Forest, Miami, Clemson. I mean, when all these teams play each other, Boston College, NC State, wherever they are, the ACC has so many good teams, but they're like not great teams. You know what I mean? But they're all like kind of on a similar level. Malik Cunningham, he's an absolute beast. I could see a world where Louisville maybe gets to 8 wins. Like, any of these teams right here, these 3 teams, I could see any one of them making up to 8 wins and making that step. But for me, I'm just going to have them all here at around 7 wins. Arizona, they had a terrible year last year. I'm going to put them down here as a trash team. It's going to take some rebuilding there. And probably more than a year. So I don't think they'll make a bowl game this year. Duke, same thing. I don't see them making a bowl game this year. I'm going to have them as a trash team. A couple trash teams back to back, not making a bowl game. Minnesota. Is Tanner Morgan coming back for like his 90th year? I'm not sure, but they have a good coach there. I don't think they'll get to 8 wins this year. I think probably 7, but I'll probably put them up in the higher echelon of the barely making a bowl game teams. But yeah, I think maybe Purdue might be better than Minnesota this year out of the Big Ten West. So I'm going to put them down here at barely making a bowl. Boston College, right what I said. They have another good quarterback in Jerkovic. He was injured a lot of last year. But yeah, look, these teams have some good quarterbacks. North Carolina, they lost Sam Howell, but we'll see what they can do. But Malik Cunningham, Jerkovic, and Brennan Armstrong, it's going to be some fun fights in the ACC, man. Arkansas, I'm going to have to put them around here with Kentucky and Tennessee. I don't think they're going to be able to win the ACC this year because I don't see them having a better record than Alabama. I could see them maybe pulling off I could see one of these SEC teams pulling off the upset over Alabama, but I don't see them having more wins than Alabama at the end of the year. I don't think that they will be able to win the SEC. So I'm going to have them as above average, but that could mean Arkansas winning 10 games, maybe 9 games. It's similar to what I said to Kentucky and Tennessee. But yeah, I'm going to have them Arkansas Razorbacks here at above average. Missouri. Okay, they had a very good recruiting class this year. They bring in a high-tier wide receiver. I think Missouri will make a bowl game this year. So I'm going to have them here at in barely making a bowl game this year, probably 6-6 though, because they play in such a hard conference, right? Wisconsin. Okay, Wisconsin is interesting. They're probably the favorites for me out of the Big Ten West. But it's similar to Iowa to me because if they make the Big Ten championship game, are they beating Ohio State or are they beating Michigan? I don't think so. So I'm going to have Wisconsin here. And like I said, same thing. It could mean winning 10 games, but I don't think they're going to be able to win the Big Ten. Next up, UCLA. Wow, UCLA. They're bringing back DTR, I'm pretty sure. Chip Kelly's offense, in the Pac-12, that could be interesting. How many do I have a Pac-12? Yeah, I have Washington State at 8 wins. I think UCLA could get 8 wins as well. I think UCLA could get 8 wins as well. I'll put them as above average. Cal. Okay, Cal is very simple to me. Do I think they're going to be able to make a bowl game? I don't think so. I'm going to put Cal as no hope to make a bowl game this year. West Virginia, very interesting. This is my favorite team. I don't want to show much bias. I'm going to put them as above average, though, because they brought in JT Daniels. They brought in, they're going to have a good defense again. They brought in a new offensive coordinator from USC. I think West Virginia is going to be very good this year in a Big 12 conference that is wide open. So they're similar to Texas for me. I think they could get to 8 wins, but we're going to have to see how they turn out. I could see them at barely making a bowl game, but I'm going to put them at around 8 wins for now. So just barely cracking the above average. Baylor Bears, similar to me with Oklahoma and Oklahoma State, contenders to win their conference because the Big 12 is just wide open. And between those 3 teams, those are my favorites. The next 2 are probably Texas and West Virginia for me as far as the Big 12 conference. So I'm going to put Baylor up here with contenders to win their conference. They're going to have a good defense again. They have an excellent head coach who's done an amazing job. They won the Big 12 championship last season. So, yeah, I definitely could see them winning it again. NC State, another contender to win their conference. I'd put them on that same tier as Miami and Wake Forest. Devin Leary coming back at quarterback. NC State, they're going to be a very good team this year. We'll see if they can finally get it done and win the ACC this year. Kansas State, I'm actually going to put them here with WVU and Texas. They're kind of in this echelon of teams. I think that they could get to 8 wins, maybe 7. I might drop one of these 3 teams to 7 wins whenever I go back and review it. But yeah, I think the Wildcats could win 8 games for sure this year. They're going to have Adrian Martinez, the transfer from Nebraska. Also, Deuce Vaughn at running back. That's going to be a scary duo, man, and an underrated duo in the Big 12 this year. So they're going to be tearing teams up, man, for sure. Florida State, I think they'll win a bowl game this year. Or I don't know if they'll win a bowl game this year, but make a bowl game this year. They're kind of on the rise. They barely missed one last year at 5-7, and I think they will get that extra win this year at 6-6 and make one. So yeah, Florida State, 6-6. Northwestern, I don't think they're making a bowl game this year. Not this year, man. They had a really good year a couple years ago during the COVID year, right? And they made the Big Ten championship. They had a really good secondary, but yeah, all those players are gone. I don't see it happening. Kansas, yeah, they're not making a bowl game. TCU, do I think that TCU will make a bowl game? That's interesting because they fired Gary Patterson last year. They got Sonny Dykes coming in from SMU as their new head coach. They have Max Duggan. Yeah, I think they'll make a bowl game. I like Max Duggan at quarterback. I think they'll make a bowl game. Now, Rutgers. Do I think Rutgers will make a bowl game? That's another one. I'm not sure. They have a coach that they brought in from Ohio State, and I think that he has actually done a pretty decent job, but the problem is they play in such a hard division. Like they're going to have to beat Maryland for sure. If they want to make a bowl game, they're going to have to beat these teams. Whoever they play from the Big Ten West, they're going to have to beat, because I don't see Rutgers beating Michigan State, Ohio State, or Penn State. They'd probably have to beat at least one of those four teams along with Maryland. I don't see it happening, but I'm going to put them right here with Virginia Tech as teams that just barely miss out on a bowl game at like 5-7. I hope Rutgers does make a bowl game this year, though. I really do. And then we have Georgia, defending national champions. Do I think they are college football playoff contenders? Yes, I do. I know they lost a lot of players from that defense. I do think they have the team to potentially make the college football playoff. I don't really think they have the potential to win the college football playoff. So for me, yeah, I'm going to put Georgia up there, but I don't know if they'll have potential to win it all. So this is my final rankings for the 2022 college football season. Let me know what you would change about my list. Do you agree with it? Do you disagree with it? Let's have a friendly conversation about it in the comments. Don't come at me hard. Let's just talk about it friendly, because I'm open to changing some opinions about some of these teams. So yeah, for sure, comment down below and make sure you guys subscribe. If you guys are new, we do a ton of college sports content here on the channel. If you guys are a college sports fanatic like me, there's no better place to be, so hit that subscribe button. So yeah, guys, it's been your boy Danny. I'm out.